Welcome. This is the Philip Koerper Show. I'm Philip Koerper. This is episode 52, October 17. October 17, episode 52. All right, Trump is on a roll. He is on a Twitter storm this morning. This is awesome. He says if the GOP loses the House, don't blame it on me. And the Donald has been everywhere. These rallies are incredible. I was watching highlights of the rally in Richmond, Kentucky on Saturday night. The contrasts are incredibly stark here. So incredibly stark that he invited Mitch McConnell up on stage. I think I mentioned yesterday that Mitch McConnell and Matt Bevin, the governor of Kentucky, rode with the Donald in the limousine from Bluegrass Airport in Lexington, Kentucky, down to Richmond. It's about 30 minutes down there. And Mitch McConnell was invited up on the stage. The Donald was talking about Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell, the two senators of Kentucky, and praising them about the Brett Kavanaugh thing. And then he invited Mitch McConnell up on stage. Standing ovation. I had goosebumps. It was so amazing. Mitch and Donald are, Cocaine Mitch and the Donald are hugging each other, arms around each other. It was epic. And the thing is, I was thinking about the first rally I went and saw the Donald in Louisville. Mitch McConnell was there too. The Donald had him. I think Mitch came out before the Donald came out there. There was tension between the Donald and Mitch back in those days. Mitch McConnell got some boos. I mean, he ran for re-election. A lot of people, including me, thought, oh, the guy's been in forever. Let's get someone else. But anyhow, Mitch McConnell, I mean, I think I was really wrong in not supporting him back then for running for re-election, because as Senate Majority Leader, shepherding in Neil Gorsuch, keeping Maryland, not having a hearing on Merrick Garland, waiting for the election, getting Neil Gorsuch in and Brett Kavanaugh in. Mitch McConnell deserves a ton of credit for what he's done. And it's awesome that Donald has healed his relationship with Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul. Donald is so popular in the GOP right now. 95% of GOP members support him. Incredible popularity, and everyone is tying themselves to him. Andy Barr is tying himself to him. So I love it. Donald is just tweeting up a storm. He was, the market went up 558 points yesterday, and Donald points out that the press didn't talk about it. He talks about Elizabeth Warren. She's being hammered, even by the left. Her false claim of Indian heritage is only selling to very low, all caps, IQ individuals. Oh, yeah. And I think I mentioned yesterday, he's threatening to cut off all funding to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador if they don't turn this group of people who are marching towards the United States and trying to enter here legally. I love it. It's very hard on illegal aliens coming into this country. I love this quote. The Donald tweeted this. This is a quote from Mark Thyssen from the Washington Post. Trump could be the most honest president in modern history. When you look at the real barometer of presidential truthfulness, which is promise keeping, he is probably the most honest president in American history. He's done exactly what he said he would do. I mean, think of Barack Obama, his promises. He thought he promised us the internet would get, the speeds would double. That didn't happen. He promised that our embassy would be moved to Jerusalem. That didn't happen. He promised that with Obamacare we could keep our doctors. That didn't happen. He said prices would go down. That didn't happen. Incredible promises that he made with Obamacare. Totally false. Totally did not happen. The Donald's going after a Beto O'Rourke. Beto, I mean, this is so funny. This guy's name's Robert Francis O'Rourke, and yet he's you. O'Donnell's tweeting right now. College-educated women want safety, security, and health care protections, very much along with financial and economic health. He says, I supply all of this far better than any Democrat for decades, actually. That's why they will be voting for me. Yes, the Donald, college educated women. The Donald is everywhere. He is so active. I just love it, and he's really trying to campaign for these guys. It's really. I've got a friend at work. He's giving me a hard time about Ted Cruz, and I mean, didn't the Donald really just hate Ted Cruz, and called him lying Ted and all this? I go, well, they sparred. They sparred in the presidential campaign. Yes, they did, but they're friends now. They've made up. It's great. I love it. I love it. The Donald really can get what he wants. He's really good at negotiating. This is very good news. Uh, so anyhow, the Donald is tweeting 6 hours ago. He tweeted, Republicans must make the horrendous, weak, and outdated immigration laws and the border a part of the midterms. So anyhow, the Donald is really trying. Somebody asked me today how we're going to do in the House and the Senate. I mean, who knows? No one can really predict these elections. But man, the Republicans are looking really good right now. This Brett Kavanaugh thing was, I think, a real boost in the arm for us. How the Donald stayed with Brett, how Cocaine Mitch stayed with him, Rand Paul. Jeff Flake kind of flaked out a little bit, but he got over it. This Khashoggi case keeps going on. Khashoggi had these ties with the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a little bit concerning. But Trump is saying that, he decries guilty until proven innocent claims. Okay, he's reminding people about the Brett Kavanaugh thing, about how, he always thought he was innocent, and he was proven to be innocent, is what the Donald is saying. I like that. So anyhow, this is still kind of unfolding. We're going to see a lot of people, the people who can't stand Saudi Arabia, people like Lindsey Graham and Rand Paul, they're using this to prove their case. The Donald's pushing back a little bit, talking about all of the weapons that we sell to Saudi Arabia, how that's a boom for our economy. So we'll have to see what happens there. Nothing really too new in there. It's probably going to be more of an investigation. I want to mention a little bit about Marsy's law. There's a Kentucky senator, and so he has appealed. A Republican state senator, Whitney Westerfield, filed a notice of appeal on Tuesday. He was joined by State Representative Joe Fisher and the nonprofit Marsy's Law for Kentucky. So here in Kentucky, California passed Marsy's Law in 2008, I think 2009, and then this is kind of this one guy whose sister was killed by her ex-boyfriend. This guy single-handedly, with a lot of money, is trying to get more victims, the victim to be really to have a legal right. So right now, as if someone's done something wrong and they're accused of doing something wrong, the state will charge them and try to convict them. And so the victim does not have really any legal rights. Okay, we don't even know if they're a victim yet. We're going to have to figure this out if this person really did something wrong. And so just putting all of this emphasis on the victim. And then now we have three parties involved. You have the state that's trying to prosecute somebody. You have the person who's being prosecuted, and then you have the victim. In this case, you have three people. So giving the victim all these rights and stuff is going to be very super complicated. It's going to slow down the convictions of criminals. It's going to make a lot of things more expensive because you're going to have to keep the victim, included in on this process. Okay, so I'm glad I voted no on this. I still think this is not a good idea, and I think this is going to start unraveling. I think people are going to start pushing back when they realize, this kind of huge tax on our system, because this is going to really make it harder for the government to prosecute criminals, because the victims are going to have to be included in on everything the prosecutors are doing. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of money, and the prosecutors don't want to have to do this. So anyhow, I really think that's a bad idea. I wanted to mention a little bit. I had an interesting question today at work. Had a friend come up and he asked me, he goes, being, like a Christian and conservative, religious person, I mean, how do you square that with supporting someone, with the lifestyle and stuff as Donald Trump? And I go, well, it's really pretty easy. Donald Trump has been singled out to being the most pro-life president that we have ever had. Mike Pence said that. Other people, when Donald went to this fundraiser, this was in, trying to look for the date, this is posted in the Washington Times, May 22nd, 2018. So he went to this pro-life rally, and the Marjorie Dannenfelser, who's president of Susan B. Anthony list, I mean, she said that he's governing as the most pro-life president in our nation's history. He has diligently and successfully gone about fulfilling his promises to the pro-life voters. Okay, this is really so true. And so I told my friend that, hey, this guy is supporting Christians. He supports Christmas. I mean, did Barry do that? It's kind of, I don't know. No, Barry was not really into Christmas. He's a big happy holiday kind of guy and all these other holidays. So anyhow, of course, we have religious freedom. And the Donald is not persecuting any other religion, but as Christians, we really like these issues. We're very pro-life, okay? We're very pro-religious freedom. So the Donald is being awesome. He's putting these pro-life judges in there, including Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. We want the Constitution to be interpreted like it was written, like it was ratified. We don't believe that there's any constitutional right to kill your own baby. No, we don't believe in killing the unborn babies. So we can throw that back to the states. The Supreme Court should never have gotten involved in that. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that supports abortion, in my humble opinion. So I love this. So I thought that was an easy answer for my friend, that he is. And I would also like to think, with some of his billionaire playboy escapades, I would like to think that those days are over and that he's repented of those things. I really like this meme I saw on the internet the other day, that Donald Trump might not be perfect, but he is perfect for this job. And I really think he has been cut out to be president of the United States right now. And I'm very grateful. He's doing a great job. This is an interesting American Spectator article that I found, and it's about guns and how guns made America. And it's talking about Andrew Cuomo. And remember when he said America's never been great? Well, he quickly recanted on that. And so this article is written by Jeffrey Norman in American Spectator. And he talks about the Battle of Saratoga, okay? And this was a huge victory, or siege really, by the Americans, the colonists. And so Benedict Arnold actually did a great job here, and later probably felt slighted for not getting the credit that he did. He actually got shot in the leg and finished the battle and then taken off in a stretcher. And so it's amazing that in this Battle of Saratoga, that the Americans, we had these Pennsylvania rifles. And so our rifles were rifled, where they made grooves in the barrel so the ball would spin, and so the bullet would soar, would go more true, and so a longer distance. And it looks like an American named Timothy Murphy is supposedly the one who fired the shot that unhorsed and killed a British general. And so he got credit for this. We're not quite sure for sure if that was him. But Franklin Roosevelt, when he was governor of New York, he had a monument, and he said, "This country has been made by Timothy Murphys, the men in the ranks. Conditioned here called for the qualities of the heart and head that Tim Murphy had in abundance. Our history should tell us more of the men in the ranks, for it was to them, more than to the generals, that we are indebted for our military victories." And then, and Timothy Murphy and these others had these rifles. Therefore, they were excellent snipers. We had the advantage over the British because of our guns. Oh, it's just a great reminder about how wonderful America is and how important the Second Amendment is for our guns. We were talking today at work about this Beto O'Rourke. It's amazing that O'Donnell's tweeting. He's talking about Florida and rebuilding. It's amazing that Beto O'Rourke, he just had a debate, as I mentioned earlier, with Ted Cruz. You know, I don't think Beto O'Rourke is going to beat Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a sitting senator who's doing quite well. But the leftists and the media is pumping as much, money. I guess he's got like $35 million and he doesn't want to share it with anyone. It's funny how he goes by this Beto. You know, I'm curious. I need to do some more research. I wonder if he went, into college, with Beto, this nickname that supposedly got from his grandfather. His name is Robert Francis Cruz. Okay, so where he's getting this Beto, this Spanish nickname for Robert or Roberto, is really interesting. It reminds me of the folklore in my family of my great-grandfather, Johannes Koerper, immigrated to Kansas City in 1880. And when he had his children, now his English, my dad said he had a thick German accent. But he learned English and opened a grocery store with his brother, and who also came over. The three brothers, John, Philip, and Peter, came over. Their parents never came over and died in Germany. So they left their families and immigrated to Kansas City and started a grocery store and lost it in the Depression. But my great-grandfather, told my grandfather, Karl Koerper, not to speak German, okay, to speak English. And they were living in the Germantown over on the eastern side of Kansas City. And so it was very important to my great-grandfather to adapt to American life. His name was like Johannes Koerper. It was O with an umlaut, so they had to change it to O-E. They changed the name to a more English spelling, and Johannes was changed to John. So my great-grandfather really, he molded into being an American, not a German, but becoming an American. And his name was English American name. And so it's just, I thought of that when we got this Beto O'Rourke, I don't know, maybe we need a DNA test on him. I looked at his parents and stuff. I don't know, exactly about his Hispanic history here. And it really doesn't matter. And I don't think it should really matter. But it's interesting how he's using this Spanish first name, maybe to reach out to the Latinos. But I contrast that to my great-grandfather, who was really trying to get rid of his German names and German language and speak English. And he used English names for his three children. So anyhow, I think it's really important that as we live in America, that we adapt to the American culture. We could bring all the good from whatever culture that we came from, of course. But this is awesome, the American culture. And English is a big part of that. Anyhow, two thoughts on that. Interesting article about this leak. This is from the Daily Caller, Chuck Ross's article. The U.S. Treasury Department official was arrested Wednesday and charged with providing a reporter with sensitive reports related to suspicious banking transactions of several Trump associates. Natalie Mayflower Sowers Edwards. That's quite a name. A senior official at Treasury Financial Crimes Enforcement Network was arrested for leaking documents known as Suspicious Activity Reports, SARS, that were cited in a series of news articles published by BuzzFeed News. She is charged with one count of unauthorized disclosures of suspicious activity reports and one count of conspiracy to make unauthorized disclosures of suspicious activity reports. The case is being handled by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan. According to a government complaint, Edwards leaked documents of banking records for former associates Paul Manafort and Rick Gates. She also leaked financial reports of Maria Butina, a Russian national, indicted on charges of acting as an undercover Russian agent. BuzzFeed also reported on financial transactions of the Russian billionaire family that helped arrange the infamous June 2016 meeting at Trump Tower. In this article, BuzzFeed reporters published all this stuff. So anyhow, one of the music publishers by trade contacted Donald Trump Jr. to arrange this meeting, Goldstone. So Goldstone's upset that BuzzFeed would publish all of these personal, private information. He said these leaks were outrageous. I was someone whose personal, private, regular banking details were leaked to BuzzFeed in order to create a salacious story. Not only is this outrageous that this information was apparently leaked out of the Treasury Department, but BuzzFeed showed a complete disregard for privacy laws. So this is the deep state that we're talking about. We continue to have evidence of people, leaking personal things just to hurt the Donald or his associates. Bad, bad, bad. As Donald would say, that's bad. That's bad. And that reminds me of Reality Winner. Many of you might not even know about Reality Leia Winner, okay? She's 26 years old right now, and she was this intelligence specialist, okay? And so she was a contractor working at the NSA at Fort Gordon, the NSA complex at Fort Gordon in Augusta, Georgia. Well, anyhow, she came upon some top secret stuff, some information about the Russians, and they were trying to get into some voting things in the United States. Okay, so she leaked this to the Inquisitor or something, the Intercept. Okay, and so it's funny that the printer that she used to print off this information and sneak it out of the NSA building has a little coating on it, and it says which printer it came from. And so once they looked at the leak, they could see the codes on there, and so she was arrested. Well, she's in prison now. So she pleaded guilty, and so a plea deal. So she was charged with up to 5 years and 3 months in prison. So this is the deep state that we're talking about. And the left doesn't really want to talk about Reality Winner. Okay, these people who are doing illegal things to try to hurt Trump. She, on social media, she was very anti-Trump. So anyhow, and there you have it. Reality Winner, not such a great winner at all. So leaking incredibly sensitive documents, but oh well, I guess she feels justified. Hashtag resist, right? I want to close with a quote from Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Thank you so much for listening to the Philip Koerper Shows, copyright 2018. I'm Philip Koerper. You can find this podcast at iTunes and SoundCloud and subscribe, or on YouTube. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel also, Philip Koerper. You guys have a great day. Thanks for listening.